This Time and Temperature is sponsored by Mercedes-Benz of South Orlando.
8 o'clock on this Wednesday morning, you're watching Eyewitness News. I'm Kirsten Delgado.
And I'm Alexa Lorenzo. Here are the latest developments on Hurricane Milton as of 8 this morning. The latest advisory released this morning shows the category is now a 4 as of 8 this morning. The Orlando International Airport is now closed ahead of Hurricane Milton's arrival in Central Florida. So that just happened within the last few seconds. The last few jets flew out. That's difficult to say at 7:45 this morning.
Emergency officials, of course, are warning of flooding along the St. Johns River even days after Milton has moved out of Central Florida. Evacuation orders and curfews are in place for Flagler County in addition to Volusia. But this morning, it's talking specifically Flagler County right now.
Yeah, those evacuation orders issued this morning. We are joined now by the sheriff in Flagler County, Sheriff Rick Staley. And Sheriff, what does this look like now for you guys in the next few hours as those evacuation orders are now in place?
Well, we're getting rain now. Fortunately, a lot of residents are at least staying off the roads for now, but the evacuation does start at 8 a.m., so the road traffic will pick up coming from the coast into our shelter area in the western part of Flagler County. You know, we're expecting anywhere from 3 to 5 feet of surge along the coast. And on the western part, which is Crescent Lake, Dead Lake, which is fed by the St. John's, that is anticipated to crest 2 to 4 feet above normal. But that will occur gradually over the next 4 or 5 days. So when the storm is gone, the west side of our county will still have flooding issues. And of course, tonight at 7 p.m. we have a curfew that will go into effect until 7:30 a.m.
So do you all now spend the next few hours going to these areas where the evacuation orders are in place to encourage people to get out?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that question.
Yeah, do you guys spend the next few hours this morning now going to some of those evacuation zones and encouraging those people to get out, checking in on them?
Yes, we will. We have communicated it heavily since yesterday. There will be another press conference at 8:30 today with the Emergency Management Director and myself to encourage it. You know, that's all we really can do is encourage people to evacuate from our barrier island and our low-lying areas on the west side, modular homes, trailers, those type of facilities. Fortunately for Flagler County, this will mostly be a rain event. I'm sure we're going to have trees go down because we're already very wet with about 6 inches of rain, and now you had another foot of rain over just a few days. Obviously, tropical storm winds are anticipated because it shifted a little further south. We're not, it's going to look right now anyways, that we will be as heavily hit as, say, Lamar County or certainly not the West Coast.
Sheriff Staley here. Just a quick question regarding the response. Are you hearing that the people your deputies are going out to check on, are they being responsive to the efforts that they need to get out and sandbag, the days before leading up to today, that they need to evacuate? What's the response you're getting from your constituents there?
So I think our residents are very receptive for the most part. You always have a few that aren't going to do that, and that certainly is their right. I'll tell you why I think they're more receptive. Our inmates in 2 days have done over 7,500 sandbags for our community. I think the devastation of Hurricane Helene, not only in Florida but in North Carolina, is so widely known that our community is really heeding all the warnings.
Sheriff Staley joining us live from Flagler County. We thank you, and we, of course, are thinking of you and your deputies out there responding during this storm.
And they will have a press conference at 8:30 this morning from the Emergency Operations Center there in Flagler County. We'll bring that to you live here on Channel 9. For now, though, let's get over to certified meteorologist Brian Shields. He was talking about evacuation orders for those low-lying areas, mobile homes, trailers. It's something that you have been telling people, hey, if you're in that zone, if you're told to evacuate, do it.
Yeah, right. You're being told for very very good reason, no doubt. I know it's a lot of scary stuff, especially with this thing hitting at night. It is going to be scary. We'll be here with you. We are Florida. We go through hurricane after hurricane, right? And we're still here after. We're not going anywhere. With that said, for us here in Central Florida, this is going to be one of our most significant hurricane impacts that we've had. It's coming right on top of us, and I do believe it could be a little stronger, more close to Category 2 winds, but all the preps you're doing are generally the same for Category 1 and Category 2, so we're going to be safe, right? All right, so winds right now down to 155 as expected. That's what I was watching. We're going to continue to see that gradual weakening. Should still be about a Category 3 or 4 at landfall because it is going to be so strong at landfall around midnight. That means it could be a Category 2 on top of us, Category 1 or 2. So if you hear it's a little stronger, you could just remember I said that, and we'll be okay where we are inside. We'll go over all the safety stuff ahead, but this will move right across Central Florida. The cone is just where the center can go. This is a big thing, and take a look at this. There is that weakening that I've been waiting for since about midnight. I've been watching this thing, and we're starting to get that gradual weakening, but you could also see how it's getting bigger. The wind field is going to get bigger, so you have the winds start to go down a little bit, then the wind field gets bigger, which means we're not missing it. If you hear of a shift south or north, it shifted a little bit to the north last night. If you hear of any of those shifts, our forecast stays the same right here. We got you covered. There's not going to be a big shift that is going to change a lot for us at this point. There's some of the heavier rain starting to work in. You can see on the radar, we're able to see the eye of this now. There's been tornado warnings down to the south. For us, nothing severe at this point, but Cassie and I are watching this. We have some heavier weather working through Melbourne over toward Harmony and Holapaw, parts of Burrard and Osceola. If anything spins up, if there's any tornado warnings, we got you. We're going to let you know ASAP. Now, the computer models have really gelled together, making landfall still near Anna Maria Island or Sarasota, much like yesterday. And here's the issue for us. As it moves across and the center is either right on top of us or just to the south, the heaviest weather with this thing is where the center is and to the north, right where we are. And that's why I mentioned significant hurricane impacts here. We are going to have a lot of trees down. We're going to lose power. There's going to be some damage to some structures, but not a scenario where this just blows away homes. It's not a Hurricane Andrew or something like that was down to the south, or Hurricane Michael for us, but this is a big wind event and big rain event. It's kind of like an Irma, but it's most likely stronger than an Irma for us here in Central Florida. So if you're here for Irma, there are some trees down, a lot of trees down, a lot of power outages. This will be a little bit stronger than a Hurricane Irma for us. And that's why I mentioned this will be one of our more significant hurricane events here in Central Florida. Now we get a look at the wind field. We're getting gusty winds. We're going to get really gusty winds starting around noon, but the shield of all tropical storm force winds will already be here at 10 o'clock. By about 7, 8 o'clock, a lot of us are going to lose power. And then as we work our way into tonight, this right here, that is the core of hurricane winds. And look how it's on top of us from midnight after that to 7 o'clock in the morning. We're still dealing with that sustained hurricane conditions for a lot of us, and then trying to gradually work offshore as we get into tomorrow. So what do we do today? We hang tight, right? It's going to be a long day. No doubt about it. A lot of anxiety. I'll try to help lower that, trying to keep things in perspective best I can. I never have good news to pass along in these things. Charge your devices. Have the flashlights nearby so you're not stubbing your toe if the lights go out and you don't know where your flashlights are. Cassie and I will watch out for any tornado warnings, but just have everything charged up because we are going to lose power. And a big thing, sleep in a safe spot tonight. I am concerned about trees and branches falling on homes. So sleep away from windows, and where maybe if there's trees on one side of your house, sleep on the other side. And then we'll get on the flip side of this, and we'll be talking about some autumn air this weekend on the back side of this system. But again, safety first with this. This could be kind of Category 2-ish on top of us as we work our way into tonight. But my promise to you is we're going to keep you covered with this, and we'll be watching it together. Even if you're alone, you're not alone. You are with us. All right, much more to come. And Cassie and I, we're going to go county by county. We'll see you in a couple. It is 8:08. Kirsten, Alexa.
Brian, thank you. An evacuation order, is now in effect this morning for parts of Volusia County.
That just went into effect 9 minutes ago at 8 this morning. We have Channel 9's Sam Martello live for you near 1792 in Daytona Beach.
The
Volusia County evacuation order is now in effect. It started at 8 o'clock this morning. So this roadway, 1792 over the Broadway Bridge, is where residents should be traveling to evacuate Daytona Beach today. Now, there are some other areas that are under this evacuation order here. Originally, it was just the east side of the Intracoastal, which is where we're standing right now, but it has expanded to some of those western areas of the Intracoastal as well. This also applies to low-lying areas that are prone to flooding, RV parks, and mobile home parks. So all of those are now under an evacuation order here in Daytona Beach and throughout Volusia County as well. And it's also important to mention that emergency management leaders are saying if your home was damaged from Hurricane Ian back in 2022, damage, flooding, whatever it was, it's best for you to evacuate as well, because they're comparing this storm to have some of the same impacts, not as severe, but having some of those same impacts as well. So if you saw flooding from Hurricane Ian, then you're under that evacuation order now as well. Since we've been here, we really haven't seen too much traffic on this roadway. I'm really hoping people are adhering to the advice of that evacuation order and that they're listening to our team of meteorologists and local emergency leaders as well. But things have been pretty quiet here for the time being. So that's the latest here in Daytona Beach. Sam Martello, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
Sam, thank you. And you can now call 211 for help during Hurricane Milton.
And Heart of Florida United Way is partnering with the Hurricane Helpline to connect you to important services. They can give you information on shelters, sandbags, food, and even offer emotional support. It's a free and confidential service available 24/7 all year long. In addition to that, there are several resources you have in individual cities. For example, in Sanford, you have the Citizen Info Line. We'll have that information for you online as well, the phone number exactly. And that'll be helpful for updates once you lose power. Directly to your phone. You can also text Kissimmee to 888-777 for updates directly on the impacted area of the city of Kissimmee itself.
We will have more on all of the counties that will be affected by Hurricane Milton after the break. Ahead, we'll have a live coverage news conference in Flagler County, which is now parts of it under an evacuation order. That news conference at 8:30 this morning. We'll be right back.
Approaching 8:15 on this very busy Wednesday morning for you, tracking Hurricane Milton. I'm Kirsten Delgado.
And I'm Alexa Lorenzo. Just a few moments ago, we got this live look coming into our newsroom out of Tampa. It is the skyline right here in Tampa. You can see it is already pretty gloomy as people get their final down to the wire here preps in ahead of Hurricane Milton. We have our eyes all across Florida to bring you live coverage of Hurricane Milton as it continues to get closer to our state. Earlier this morning, we spoke with the Seminole County Emergency Manager, Alan Harris, and he told us as of 8 this morning, so 15 minutes ago, we were going to see an evacuation order put into place, and we did. In Seminole County, an evacuation order is now in place for a few areas. It's not the county as a whole. Alerts came out that may have been a bit confusing for some residents. We're all getting those texts.
Right.
We're here to clarify. We spoke with Alan himself on that area that's under evacuation.
It's mobile and manufactured homes, special needs homes. So if you're electricity dependent and you need that critical care with electricity, and those who live in low-lying areas or flood-prone areas, those are the people that need to be evacuating as of 15 minutes ago. Not the entire county, just if you live in those three circumstances. Mobile manufactured homes. If you're special needs and you're electricity dependent, you want to make sure you get to a shelter or to a location that's going to have electricity regardless of what the storm brings, and low-lying areas that are prone to flooding. Those are the areas that need people that need to be evacuating as of 15 minutes ago.
And we spoke again with Alan himself, the director there of the Emergency Management Division of Seminole County. So we're getting pieces of that interview for you right now so we can re-air it. You can hear it directly from him. So those are the latest updates out of Seminole County. We also have evacuation orders for parts of Volusia County. Sam Martello will be live there this morning. And Flagler County as well will have an update from a news conference there at 8:30. To get you caught up weather-wise, here's meteorologist Brian Shields.
Thank you both for doing that, because my phone went off crazy as if all of Seminole County has to evacuate, which is not
the case.
Which is not the case. Emergency alerts are good, but sometimes things get
A little confusing, that's right. Which we're here with you to clarify.
So thank you both very much.
When there are nerves,
yes,
things are processed
There's a lot going on. So thank you both for clarifying that for everyone at home. That is so important. There's so much going on. Now, winds right now down to 155. We're going to see them going down further. The next advisory, they'll be down even further. So we're seeing that slight weakening trend as expected. This will make landfall right around midnight, give or take, near Anna Maria Island, Sarasota as a Category 3 or Category 4. Because it's coming in so strong, it's going to be more like a Category 2 for some of us than a Category 1. So it may be a bit stronger for some of us as this just kind of comes into our area. We are prepped for that. We are prepped for Category 1 and Category 2 here. Heck, are the same for a Cat 3 hurricane. So again, we are prepped for that, but we've got a big wind event and a big rain event. This will be one of the biggest storms we've had here. We'll get on the flip side of it, but then we got to deal with this. Now here it is, and you can see how the eye a little more ragged as it lifts up to the north, as it starts to get pulled, and that's a sign of its weakening. It's probably even below 155 at this point, but the wind field is getting bigger. We're going to see this grow in size, so you could watch it with me the next few hours as it will just kind of grow in size. Big wind field with this, so that's why none of us are escaping it. Cassie was just going county by county with that. Big winds for all of our counties, and we'll have more of that with Cassie shortly. But here's the center of that. This is 2 o'clock today. We'll have some heavier rain bands at times, and Cassie and I will monitor, see if there's any tornadoes in this. If any tornado warnings are issued, we'll let you know. But again, best to be in place, no doubt. 7 o'clock, though, the bigger shield of rain starts to move in. In that, tropical storm conditions. Some of us will start to lose power right around 6, 7, even 8 o'clock. Don't want you caught off guard with that. You may lose power early. Again, this is not going to make landfall to midnight, maybe even after that. But right around dinner time, some of the power will be going out. Then as we go forward here, this is working into midnight. This is when it should start to make a landfall very close to the Tampa area. In this, though, these are the hurricane conditions. Category 2, Category 1, we're looking at gusts 90 to 100. Could be a little higher, Cassie, a little higher over toward you at Polk County, so about 110 maybe. Some of the gusts, so about 110 in Polk County, so kind of our southern zones. Category 2 hurricane conditions, and then it will still be kind of sitting on top of us, very close by. Still hurricane conditions when we see you on TV tomorrow morning. We'll be here, of course, through the night, but still hurricane conditions. Then it starts to work offshore. This is midday, but getting a battering along our coast. Of course, the beach erosion, but the coastal flooding. That's why they're going ahead with the evacuations in spots along our coast. The emergency managers working very hard. If you are asked to leave, it is because of very specific reason. Definitely leave, and we have plenty of shelters around. They did such a good job with the planning with this. Now we get a look at this. This here is what Cassie was just letting me know about too. This red shading. That would be about Category 2 winds, right? Winds about 95 miles per hour. Sustained, that's a constant wind, which means gust will be as high as 110 miles per hour right here. That's a Category 2 hurricane. More in the way of Category 1 impacts elsewhere in this orange. Little bit less over toward parts of Marion, but still very strong winds. But we have Category 1 to 2 hurricane conditions right on top of us starting tonight into at least into the first half of tomorrow. Now, as far as the rain goes, you mentioned those evacuations in parts of Seminole County, and what was it, Alexa and Kirsten, the low-lying?
Mobile.
In the
low-lying, flood-prone,
Those with special needs, right? If you're electricity dependent, you want to make sure you have electricity through the storm, you need to evacuate. That makes good sense, because with Ian in Seminole County, we did have some of those flood emergencies too. So you see some of the rain, a little bit all over the place, but north of the center where we are, some very high totals possible. This gives us a feel. Some of us may get 4 inches of rain and we can handle that, but others may get closer to a foot of rain, and obviously that is a much bigger problem. So what's going to happen here is, well, obviously the flooding that I just talked about, the loss of power, a lot of downed trees. It's not going to wipe us out. We are going to be here after this storm, but there are going to be a lot of downed trees, a lot of branches, and it is my concern that things will fall on top of houses, watching out for those trees. If you live near one of those old oak trees that's kind of a little bit wobbly to begin with, please sleep in a different location.
Worst weather will be with us for tonight. So with that, the kids too, I know there's a lot of scary stuff. Get them involved a little bit to a degree. I've been working with a mental health counselor, Brianna Edwards, on this. They can make a little hurricane kit, snacks and games, build a fort with them that maybe they could sleep in. So as you transition them tonight into their safer sleeping spot, they already have that fort set up. It's nothing unusual for them. They're not asking why at 8 o'clock you're sending them to a different room, and maybe have a sound machine as well, battery powered. Because at night, I tell you what, the sounds are scary. It's going to be dark. We're going to hear the winds howling, some trees breaking. But remember, I mentioned that. That is what's going to happen. That's what's kind of supposed to happen with Category 1, Category 2 hurricane. But it's scary at night. But that's why we're going to be here. So we'll take you through the storm. And we'll get on the flip side of it. There's also some fall weather down the road. I can't hang with all of this bad news. Even if this weekend, you look at the numbers, overnight lows are going to be in the 60s. I know that is a very grain of salt, but that's important after a hurricane that it's not 90 or 95 out if we are without power. So coming up, Cassie's going to go county by county with that. I want to get back to which have really fall point and some other things we could do during the storm and what it will be like after the storm. We'll keep you covered and we will get through it. It is what we do here in Central Florida. It is 8:23. Alexa, Kirsten.
Thank you so much. And of course, we've been covering this. Orders are going into place here as of about 23 minutes in several locations, including parts of Volusia County.
We spoke with the Flagler County Sheriff, Rick Stolley, just a bit ago, with Volusia County Sheriff Mike Chitwood. And Sheriff Chitwood, those evacuation orders now in effect. What do the next orders look like for you and your deputies? Or encouraging people to evacuate? What's on tap for today?
Good morning, and thank you for having me. Well, right now we're doing our last-minute checks and preparations. Our shelters open at 10 a.m. We go on 12-hour shifts starting at 6 p.m. tonight. The whole department's working. We staged our high water rescue vehicles and our Bearcats on both sides of the county. They're outfitted with fire medics and with deputies. The one thing we want to tell our residents is remember what healing was like in 2022. We lost 5 residents from drowning, and you got to keep that in mind. We're going to have the same impact, if not worse, than Ian was. And if you start flooding, you got to get out of your house. Calling 911. It might take us quite a while to get there with road obstruction. So that's our message.
Now, Sheriff Chitwood, you're obviously not one to mince words. You've been very clear so far that you guys can fix roads and pick up down trees and power lines, but you cannot fix people's lives if they've lost it. It seems to be a really current theme within state and local officials really being quite honest, right, about the reality of the area. Take it seriously.
That's why the place run from 8 people. And then we'll reevaluate, because you being out on the road, you're either going to impede us in trying to clean up the debris that's going to block the roadways. And, you know, you got a couple hours to think to yourself, if I flooded during Ian, okay, or I came close to flooding during Ian, you're going to flood this time. It might be a good time to go to the shelter, take advantage of that, and then we can come back and work on the property a little bit later on.
Now, Sheriff, with that curfew in place tonight, what do you want people to know up until that curfew? Staying away from the beaches. We know we always have a few knuckleheads out there trying to have some fun before a storm, unfortunately.
Yeah, you know, that fun could cost somebody their life. And why would you even risk first responders going out in the height of the storm because you did something stupid or you wanted to be TikTok famous? That's just not the way we do business here. You know, the prayers are with those folks over there because they're going to take the brunt of this.
Sheriff Chitwood joining us live from Volusia County as all hands are on deck over there. Sheriff, thank you, and we are thinking of you and your deputies as you all respond to Hurricane Milton.
All right, it is 8:26. We'll have more coverage from you of this impending storm heading towards Central Florida. The break here on Channel 9.
As Milton moves closer, Channel 9 Eyewitness News will keep you informed with team coverage throughout Central Florida. With constant updates from Chief Meteorologist Tom Terry and the Severe Weather Center 9 team on the storm's track, timing, and impacts. Plus, bringing you the latest updates on power outages, road closures, and areas most impacted. before, during, and after the storm. Depend on Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
Approaching 8:30 on Eyewitness News this morning. Thank you for joining us. I'm Kirsten Delgado.
And I'm Alexa Lorenzo. All eyes are on Hurricane Milton as it approaches Florida. Still a very strong storm, but within the last 30 minutes, that 8 a.m. advisory shows it's a Category 4.
Which is what we're expecting to happen, Brian. It's a bit of a relief because we do want this thing to weaken more and more ahead of its landfall on the Gulf Coast. However, you're not really anticipating it weakening any more than a Cat 4 at this point.
It could be Cat 3 at landfall. Cat 3, Cat 4.
Fingers
Cat
crossed,
3,
right?
That is the hope, no doubt. But it is on track. And for us here, if it makes landfall as a Category 4 tonight, that would be more like in our southern zones, especially Category 2 hurricane conditions here. So it could come in for us a little stronger. I don't mean that in a scary way. Just in the preps we made, same for Category 1 as Category 2. So that's fine. But it may come in a little bit stronger. So I'm giving you that heads up. This is a very significant event for us here in Central Florida. We will be safe. We know what we're doing, all of us, as we go through this. Listen to those emergency officials, and we are going to be in place through this. And really, I can't stress enough, sleep in a safe spot tonight away from trees that may fall. There's going to be a lot of falling trees with this. Winds 155, probably a little bit less right now. Should make landfall as we get into midnight, but well in advance of that, we're going to get the impacts. We're already seeing the rain this morning from Milton. This thing is going to roll right across Central Florida overnight into the first half of tomorrow. Now you can see the eye on the first frame there, more defined, less defined. That's the sign of some weakening as expected, but this is going to get bigger. The wind field is going to really fan out, but we have a lot in the way of some wet weather on top of us right now. The model's really gelling. You may have heard of some shifts. Again, if you hear of someone saying it shifted a little bit south, it did yesterday, it shifted a little bit north, it did last night, that doesn't change our impacts here. I'm most concerned about the intensity, how strong it's going to be when it hits the Tampa area and south, because that'll dictate how strong it is here. And that's why I mentioned it could be more like a Category 2 hurricane here, but it'll make landfall very close to Anna Maria Island, Sarasota again, and then just roll into our does with the center on us or just south. That's a problem because the heaviest weather is going to be on the north side, the center and to the north, and that's where we are. And that's why I mentioned subtle shifts aren't going to change a whole lot for us. Category 1 to Category 2 hurricane conditions for us. So what do we do today? Well, first off, we need to take a little break, try to do something a little bit fun because this is all crazy, but full preparations, they are done. A long day, hang tight. I know it's a high anxiety day, but we're here to just kind of give you the info you need step by step. Go ahead, charge the devices, kind of prep the house. So you already prepped the outside of the house or your home as a whole. And be ready to lose power. Have those flashlights handy. Don't be tripping over things trying to find those like I do. We'll be tracking the warnings throughout the day too. If there are any tornado warnings issued, Cassie's going to have more on that in a second. We'll be tracking that. But my biggest thing tonight, sleep in a safe area. We had to do that with Irma. We had to do it with Matthew. But I believe this event, this hurricane is going to be more significant than those two hurricanes. So again, you sleep in your safe area as we work our way into tonight and be in place and just be in place now. It's already wet out there. Be in place by noon because that severe threat is going to be going up. We are not getting wiped off the map, but we do have a significant hurricane that is headed towards Central Florida with, of course, even more significant impacts over toward the west coast of Florida. This one is not missing us. It is going to be right on top of us. And with that, we're already starting to get some of the impacts, and we're already starting to see some watches coming out. So let's get over to Cassie, and this just came in, some new information on this.
Yeah, that's right. New in this morning, a few of our counties as we get into our southern tier, a tornado watch. Surprised it wasn't issued a little bit earlier. This goes until 9 o'clock tonight, and this is going to include really all of South Florida, including our southern zones. We may see this extend further northward. We've got one warning as we head down into parts of South Florida, and you heard Brian Shields talking about this morning how we've had upwards of 8 to 10 of those warnings down in parts of South Florida. Here in Central Florida, no severe weather just yet. Everything's been pretty tame, but you can see there's a decent batch of rain that's rolling on through. some pockets, Brevard, Osceola, Volusia County, getting some pretty heavy rainfall. And this is going to come into play as we head through the afternoon, evening into tomorrow with all of these winds. Some locations just in the last 48 hours, you can see kind of highlighting some of these pockets up in Volusia, even parts of Orange County, down in Brevard County that have already gotten more than 2 inches of rainfall. This is going to help lead to very soggy, saturated soil. So when we get those wind gusts blasting through here, that could cause issues with some of those trees uprooting. Now, if we talk a little bit more in line in some of those county by county impacts, Polk County, I think you're going to see some of the strongest winds. You're going to be the closest to the center of the storm when it's at its strongest, as it's making its way into our western coastline. So this is where we could have wind gusts. Gusts, not sustained, but wind gusts, 100, 110 miles per hour. Also portions of Osceola County, you can expect to see wind gusts 90 to 100 miles per hour. So our friends in St. Cloud, Poinciana, Kissimmee, Holopaugh, Harmony, Kenansville, all could see these very, very strong wind gusts. Seminole County, as we start to lift a little bit further northward, getting kind of away from the core of that storm, still anticipating 75 to 85 mile per hour wind gusts, and over near the coastline are kind of a whole other impacts there, as the water, the surge, the onshore flow, the beach erosion that we can see over in parts of Flagler, Volusia County. You can see our surge expected 3 to 5 feet, but also you could see some wind gusts over 80 miles per hour. So there's going to be a lot of issues with the wind and again, some of the rainfall. But like Brian had mentioned, okay, speaking of Flagler County, it looks as though we have a presser coming up. We'll take that for you live.
Stay with us as we get this
Hurricane
audio.
Milton has regained strength again as a Category 5 storm again, and is still expected to impact the west coast of Florida within the next day. As a major hurricane, it'll weaken from a Category 5 state. If you looked on the internet or online or on TV, you'll notice that it looks like we are outside of the cone. The storm hasn't really shifted that much. The cone has just gotten skinnier as we're closer to our impacts, but it does not change the things we last few days. The impacts expected here in Flagler County are basically the same. We are under a hurricane warning, a storm surge warning, as well as a flood watch. We are expecting tropical storm force winds this evening through Thursday, as well as a potential for hurricane force winds. So please keep that in mind. That's why we're under the hurricane warning. Just because we are not in the cone, that cone only shows where the eye of the storm may be. The way the storm is interacting with a weather system to the north will very likely create those conditions where we'll see the tropical storm force winds for sure. Those high-end tropical storm force 3 miles an hour. So that's nothing to ignore. Also, additionally, again, as I said earlier, we are not immune from seeing hurricane force winds from this storm. We're also still expecting to see another 8 to 15 inches to Flagler County. The higher levels are going to be another 8 to 15 on top of the almost 6 inches we've already seen since Saturday, on top of the over the foot we saw about a week or so ago. So our ground is extremely saturated. That plus the winds is going to make it very easy for trees to fall over. There's going to be plenty of power outages, I'm sure, and we may see trees fall into homes. But our emergency services folks are ready to take care of any issues that do pop up. Storm surge. We are still expected to see 3 to 5 feet of storm surge along the Atlantic coast as well as the intracoastal waterway. Additionally, we're expected to see 2 to 4 feet of surge along Crescent Lake and Dead Lake. So please keep in mind, too, on the western side of the county, some of that water elevation may actually occur after the storm has passed. It may occur for the next few days as the St. Johns River basin fills up from counties to our south. We are continuing sandbag operations. I know the city of Palm Coast as well as the Flagler County sites there's 3 different sites there, or 4 different sites, are all running operations at least till noon today or until supplies run out. Again, as I mentioned earlier, we do have an evacuation order that is in place. I'm going to read off a couple of some of the areas included in the evacuation order. Our original order that we shared last night that took effect at 8 o'clock this morning was the entire Barrier Island from the St. Johns County line to Volusia County. So that's Marineland all the way through to Flagler Beach. On the mainland part of the county, in the area south of Road 100, specifically the neighborhoods along John Anderson Highway and Pond Drive, RV park and homes on Old Kings Road, in Polo Club West Sweet Bottom Plantation area, homes that are on Lexington Court, Ashland Way, or back up directly to the Bulow. North of State Road 100, these specific neighborhoods only. neighborhoods off of Lambert Avenue, any properties in Marina del Palma that back up directly to the Intracoastal Waterway or Yacht Basin, any properties off of North or South Riverwalk Drive in Palm Coast Plantation, as well as any properties within Princess Place. That was our original order that we've been sharing for the last couple of days. It took effect at 8 o'clock this morning. In addition, as of 8 o'clock this morning, we've added the following areas because of the increased rainfall effects and our concern that those communities may get cut off as the rain comes down this evening. All properties directly bordering Crescent Lake and Dead Lake, plus the properties in the Bull Creek Campground area on Park Place Avenue, Canham Street, Cheryl Elaine Drive, Lisa Court, Johnny Court, and Matt Court. It's a little neighborhood just by the Bull Creek Campground. Additionally, all properties in Flagler Estates, Methbin Road, which runs just south of Flagler Estates, and Flagler Estates runs up to the St. Johns County line in the northwest part of the county. And then in the most southern part of the county, properties off of Strickland Road, also known as Strickland Durance Road, which includes Strickland Durance Road, Shed Lane, Natalie's Lane, Dillon Trail, Boyce Lane, Lola Lane, Wassac Lane, and Carter Trail. It's just another small neighborhood that's a little more isolated in our community. We already know of some flooding over some of those streets in those areas we just mentioned, so we want to go ahead while the roads are still passable to include those areas in the evacuation. While they are not typically impacted by storm surge, we know that there will be flooding that we encourage those folks to also leave the area, seek shelter with friends or family or hotel or motel. And if that's if you're not able to do that, then you're also very welcome in our public shelter that is now open at Rimfire Elementary as of 8 a.m. For our residents, we have a list of things that you should be bringing with you to the shelter. That shelter is a special needs capable shelter, a general population shelter, and is also a pet friendly shelter. So we offer all the services in that one facility. We do have a backup shelter on standby, and if we need to announce, but we use folks by giving the name and they go to the wrong school. So we do have a on standby if the current shelter starts. That being said, I'll turn it over to Sheriff Staley.
Thank you, Jonathan. To the community, first I want to start with the shelters. The Sheriff's Office will ensure that that is a safe environment for anyone that comes there. Anyone that comes in will be checked to make sure that they are not a fugitive and not wanted, not a sex offender. If you are a predator, you are not allowed at the Rimfire shelter. If you are designated under Florida law as a sex predator and you need shelter, you need to go to the Sheriff Perry Hall Inmate Detention Facility. That's the county jail on Justice Lane, and we will accommodate you in the lobby of that building. You've probably seen it before, I would guess. As far as the curfew, there will be a curfew that goes in effect at 7 p.m. tonight until 7:30 a.m. Thursday morning. And that will continue every night until it is rescinded by the county. We're hoping it will just be one night, but that will depend on the flooding and any damage that the policy group will discuss and then decide. To the community, if you have left your community, your home, or your business, obviously, we will still have patrols out there to protect your community, and we're working in partnership with the two city police departments, Flagler Beach and Bunnell Police Departments. So we will do everything we can to ensure that your property is continued to be safe when you return. To the criminals that think they can prey on our community, just remember during times of disaster, we have extra deputies on patrol. Our real-time crime center is up and functional, and we have lots of cameras in this county. My suggestion is don't try it. If you try to prey on this community, you will ride out the storm at the Green Roof Inn or the county jail. Very fair place, but it's not going to be very comfortable for you, and you don't want to deal with the repercussion charges during an emergency. So stay out of Flagler County if you think you can commit a crime, because we're going to still get you. We'll get through this together. Our vehicles and our shallow water boats have been pre-staged. Our team is ready and trained and know that we're here to serve the community.
questions on the hurricane, you need to call the county center, 911 for true emergencies. We're going to be very busy in the community. We don't need to answer questions like, why is my cable? Or not, those are some of the calls that we center. Call Charter or Spectrum, who is 911, to ask us those questions. Leave those lines open for true emergencies.
Thank you, Sheriff. And for those looking for continuing updates about the storm, our website is flaglercounty.gov/emergency. That's flaglercounty.gov/emergency. Or you can always call our call center. It's open 24/7 for the time being. That is 386-313-4200. That's 386-313-4200. And we have county personnel. Any question that you may have. And for those of you that use social media, you can follow us at EOC, that's one word, Flagler EOC, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I'll open up to any questions for the Sheriff Fry.
Sure, just five questions on the curfew. The winds are not going to pick up really seriously here until after midnight. So tonight might look very kind of normal. Some businesses might still be open. Is your curfew applying across the county or just in the evacuation zones? And if it is across the county, what are the penalties that you intend?
Sure. So it's a good question, Pierre. The emergency order as signed for a curfew is countywide. Look, our deputies will use common sense, but don't be surprised if you're driving around or walking around after 7 p.m. and you're not on your own property, that you're going to encounter a deputy sheriff to ask you why you're out. And if you have a legitimate reason, there are some exceptions in the emergency order. To and from work, for example, first responders, utility companies, returning home from work, those kind of things are exceptions. And our deputies will use common sense to that. But you're likely going to encounter. Remember, the roads are already wet. So it's not just that we want to protect the property that people own and their homes and their businesses from people trying to prey on our community, but we also want you to be safe. Roads are wet. Even though we don't have a lot of wind yet, the ground is already soaked from prior storms, and it's likely the trees will fall. And so you could be driving down the road very innocently and a tree fall, and the next thing you know, you're in the hospital because the tree fell on your car. So, you know, there are things like that that can occur that you need to think about. So that's the purpose of it.
And then who has authority over the Hammock Dunes Bridge?
I'll let Jonathan answer that.
So the Hammock Dunes Bridge is a government-owned bridge. It's owned by the Dunes Community Development District, which is an independent city-like government. So that is who has the ultimate authority. They, out of normal practice, and we spoke to them yesterday or the day before, they've already lifted tolls on the bridge, so there's not an issue with people going on or off of the island for evacuation purposes or for other legitimate purposes. The other thing I kind of want to mention too, we've had a lot of questions on social media or emailed them to our call center. People want to know, well, when's the latest I can go to the shelter? Even though winds may not be fully up to speed, we're going to start seeing storm bands run through this evening. So honestly, if you're going to be going to the shelter, make sure you get there by the time curfew is starting. That's probably the best time to use. It's an easy time to remember. If you're going to the shelter to seek shelter, be there by 7 p.m. So you have all day today. It's not going to be horrible. The first part of the day, it's going to be rainy, obviously, and you might start seeing some winds start to build. But if those are seeking shelter at the shelter, please go there no later than 7 p.m. today. If you need a ride to the shelter because you do not have your own transportation, you can call our call center at 386-313-4200, and Flagler County Transit will make sure they come pick you up. If you're going to do that, though, please try to do that before noon, so we can make sure that we have time to come get you before nightfall is honestly the game plan there. Additionally, for those that are seeking shelter elsewhere, we really urge that folks, if you're going to shelter friends or family or in a hotel or motel, that you would do so as of yesterday. Some people may not have done that and now want, maybe rethinking that. Go ahead and leave this morning. It's okay, and go to whatever your evacuation plan is. But same token, if you're going to do that, make sure you're doing that before nightfall, and which is the same time when curfew is really kicking in.
Those people who have evacuated in Flagler County, is there any particular sign they should wait for before going to check on their home after the storm?
Yeah, we'll let the community know. We'll put out a press release. We'll put it on social media. We'll put it on the webpage that conditions are clear for. We use the term reentry. What reentry means is conditions are clear to go back to your neighborhoods. Those that are in the shelter, the shelter staff will let them know. We tell the shelter staff tell the folks in the shelter. But we'll make sure we put out a press release that conditions are generally safe. It does not mean after the storm there isn't a neighborhood that has to be blocked off. For example, with some of our previous storms, or unfortunately many of our previous storms, chunks of A1A went missing. Hopefully it doesn't happen this time. You know, those areas have to be blocked off because people can't drive down the road or cause a problem there. So that could happen anywhere in our county. There could be a road that's washed out. State Road 100, right by the 100 bridge over US 1, unfortunately has a little river that likes to appear there almost every single storm crossing the road. There is a very good chance that road would have to get closed off temporarily until that flow of water dies down. So localized neighborhood closures are very common in events like this. So just because we say it's generally okay to be back out in the community within the confines of the curfew, obviously, it does not mean that a particular neighborhood is safe to go into. So you may see law enforcement saying you can't go there. You may see barricades blocking off a neighborhood. That is truly for your safety. So please don't go around things. It's because something is not safe in that area. And that's why we put those barriers up.
As kind of come off the Hammock Dunes Bridge, is there any chance that State Road 100 be closed just due to high winds or anything like that?
Well, we will announce when it's not safe to be on the roads through our social media and press release like that. But in general, we will not be closing roads. We'll just announce it's not safe to be on the roads. That is inclusive of every road. When we make that announcement, that is inclusive of every road in the county, including any bridges, whether it's the coastal bridges or bridges we have on the western side of the county.
That's what I was going to address, because the Flagler Beach City Commission passed a resolution that's not accurate, quite frankly. Don't mean to throw you under the bus, but while the sheriff does have some emergency powers, that is not the way I operate as a sheriff. That we have a policy committee for disasters, and that's the way I operate and for policy decisions like that. Like Jonathan said, there are times that the bridges are up in the air in gusts of winds, and remember, you're driving a car and a 70-mile gust that you're not expecting hits you, pretty dangerous. And first responders aren't going to be able to come and rescue you if you're dangling off the bridge because you were foolish enough to try to drive over the bridge. So the time to leave and evacuate a barrier island is before the tropical storm with high gusts arrive. Go to a shelter. You have lots of choices for friends, hotels, and then Rimfire Elementary, not during it. So make good decisions, and everybody will get through this just fine. It's when you make bad decisions and then realize it's a bad decision and try to recover from it that then you create a problem not only for yourself but for first responders. And we're not going to risk injury and death to a first responder because an individual chose to make a bad decision. We'll get to you as soon as we can, and we have the resources and the skill to do it, but Mother Nature plays in that, and we're not going to risk our staff.
Are there any other questions? All right, so just in closing, I just also want to share, here in Flagler County, as well as many other counties in Florida, when it comes to disasters, natural or man-made or whatever you are, we work as one team, regardless of the municipal jurisdiction, state government, county governments, all of the governments, the sheriff's office, all of the other constitutional officers. We really do function as a unified team, because at the end of the day, when a disaster is hitting our community, what's on the side of your vehicle, on your shirt does not really matter. We are all here to help our community. We have an amazing, it's about our community. It's all done, including volunteer groups that come out and join us as part of this fight to make sure we can make it through whatever disasters in our community. So it's I think something every Flagler County resident and business is proud of, that together of hundreds, if not thousands of people to help make sure. So that being said, we thank you all very much for being here and tuning in.
Alrighty, if you're just joining us, that was a live press conference from Flagler County of the Emergency Operations Center there, and some major highlights there coming out. Of course, there's going to be a curfew tonight at 7 p.m. They have some evacuation orders. Typical think of that to storm surge in these type of situations, but something else to be mindful of, they do have sandbag locations open throughout the county until noon, but remember that Brian Shields wants you in place by noon, so that's something you're thinking, maybe I need to pick up a few more bags, or maybe I didn't pick up any, I need to get out. Do that now and be in place by noon. They also opened a shelter about an hour ago at 8 this morning, the Rheinfire Elementary School in Palm Coast. So that is your go-to place if you're looking to evacuate your home. Again, that curfew will be in effect tonight starting at 7. Earlier this morning, we spoke with Seminole County. We spoke directly to the emergency director there, Alan Harris, and he told us some areas are now under evacuation orders, but not all of Seminole County is under an evacuation order. We know an alert went out from Alert Seminole that may have caused some confusion. So we want to make it clear, and you can hear it yourself.
At 8 o'clock this morning, we are going to issue an evacuation order for mobile and manufactured homes, low-lying and flood-prone areas, and persons with special needs. We actually have already started transportation assistance for individuals with persons with special needs into our shelters. 8 shelters will open this morning at 8 o'clock. They're actually already open for those people that needed a transportation assistance. It isn't too late to get assistance if you need transportation to the shelter. You can call information hotline and they'll schedule that for you, 407-665-0000, and we'll schedule that for this morning, getting you into the shelter before the worst of this gets to us. He spoke, Alexa, about the major outages he's expecting there regarding power in Seminole County. Yeah, that was a big one to hear. He said that in Irma, 75% of the county lost power. With this one, he's anticipating 80 to 90% of Seminole County to lose power. And don't be prepared for a few days without power. Be prepared for a few weeks without it. And here at Eyewitness News, we've been checking with our friends at Duke Energy and FPL. We actually do have a live interview coming up in about 5 minutes with a representative from Duke Energy discussing their increased efforts. They now have more alignment at the ready to prepare and just ready and waiting for the power to go out so they can come in once it's safe to do so and get the power back on. We are here for you, talking to all the important people making these decisions and keeping you safe. Stay with us right here on Eyewitness News as we keep on tracking Hurricane Milton.
Stay with Channel 9 Eyewitness News as we track Milton.
At 9 o'clock, you're watching Eyewitness News this morning as we continue our coverage here of tracking Hurricane Milton, of course, making an impact in the overnight hours going into a Wednesday into Thursday morning here in Central Florida. Thank you for joining us. I'm Kirsten Delgado. And thank you for trusting us as we continue our coverage. I'm Alexa Lorenzo, getting you up to speed this morning on what happened overnight. Here are the latest developments on Hurricane Milton. Hurricane Milton is a strong Category 4 storm. The governor is preparing to give an update on the state's response to the storm at 9:30 this morning from Tallahassee. You can watch his update live here on Channel 9. And we'll have a live interview here with Duke Energy in just a bit about how they plan to respond to what they're anticipating is going to be 1 million plus customers actually being without power because of this storm. We'll have that in just a few minutes after we get to Brun with this weather. For now, though, we want to take you live out to Tampa, and the skyline there looking quite hazy as, of course, this area, this live shot provided by EarthCam, but this particular area, the Tampa Bay area, the Gulf Coast area, is the one taking the landfall from this Category 4 storm. Yeah, somewhere there on the west coast of Florida. And what I have seen on social media overnight with certified meteorologist Brian Shields, people have been heeding the warning. Tampa downtown was quiet overnight, kind of eerie almost.
It is, right? But that's one of the good things is that you take the warning. So whatever it throws at you or hopefully doesn't throw at you, you're ready for. And we know here in Florida how, strong these systems are. We know, just how they could shift a little bit and all that sort of thing. Now, as we watch this here, by the way, thank you for your trust as we go through this, no doubt. We'll get through this. It's just a big system we need to get on the other side of. If you hear anything about a little shift one way or another, it's not going to change our forecast forecast here very much. That's a big deal for our friends over here because landfall point very critical, no doubt, over toward anywhere from Pinellas County south. Where it makes landfall in south, they're going to have that massive storm surge roll on shore. Now for us, a little shift here or here, we're still going to get the hurricane impacts here. And this cone is just where the center may go. The impacts are going to be really a whole lot bigger. By 2 in the morning, it's going to be making landfall right around midnight as a Category 4 hurricane. We'll already have the impacts. We already have the rain now. It's just going to get kind of worse and worse gradually as that day goes on. Then especially after sunset, this will be sitting right on top of us as it moves inland as a Category 3 or 4. That means we are going to have some Category 2 impacts here in some locations where the winds could be sustained around 95, gust even higher than that, 100 to maybe even 110 in our southern zones. We've made those preps, so we are ready for that. We're ready for a Category 1, Category 2. So either way, if it comes in stronger, we're good. We're going to watch this with you. Now, the eye has a change. It is starting to change shape, which is as expected. I've been tracking this with you on TV since about 1, 2 in the morning, and you could see here again, it's getting a little wider. That's the big wind field, so it's not going to miss us because it's going to be so large. The good news, though, is that the eye, just a little bit of weakening in this. And we're going to continue to see that weakening trend as we go forward. Winds at about 150, 155. Could be a little bit less right now. Now, as this moves in, here's the radar beam shooting out, and you can see the center right there, the big shield of rain moving in. The Corvet's over here, though. We have that tornado watch that is up. That really includes our southern zones, pretty much everyone. We're all going to be watching that tornado threat as the day goes on. Nothing tornadic now. We're monitoring some of this heavier rain working its way back through Cocoa Beach over toward Indian River City. A lot of wet weather now, and then we're going to catch a little break, and then we'll monitor these storms, especially as we get into the afternoon. The tornado threat will be higher, and the winds will start to pick up. And then after sunset, that's when the worst weather moves in, of course, after sunset. It's crazy how that always, almost always seems to happen. It's always scarier at night, too, when you get a storm moving in. So this is taking you through it. Again, all of the models, super good agreement right near the Sarasota area, maybe Anna Maria Island. Could still work its way up toward Tampa Bay, maybe just to the south. Should be to the north of Fort Myers. And then the center of this will be moving right through parts of Polk and Osceola. And the issue for us is, as I mentioned, a little shift isn't a big difference. And here's why. The center could be in Orlando, could be a little bit south of Osceola County. But the heaviest weather for us is going to be where the center is and to the north, and that's where we are. That's where those hurricane conditions are going to be. To the south, there's going to be some drier air sneaking in. So unfortunately, we're going to have a really heavy rain event. Rain totals 8 to 14 inches, and that's why we're making the preps. And that's why in Seminole County, for example, and other locations too, they have been evacuating some people from certain low-lying areas. So what do we do today? Well, we listen to the officials. If we're asked to leave, no doubt we do that. Most of us, we're just in place as we go throughout the day. It's a long day. We got to hang tight, kind of a high anxiety day. Charge your devices. Make sure you know where the flashlights are so when it's dark, you don't have to go searching around for that. So we're kind of prepping the hurricane kit within our home as the day goes on, but keep those devices charged. If any warnings are issued, Cassie and I will let you know. And one of my biggest things is sleep in a safe spot for tonight, right? So we need to be in place in just a couple hours by noon. Be where you need to be for Hurricane Milton because we're going to see the tornado threat going up. But again, I really want you to sleep in a safe area for tonight, away from windows. And if one side of your house has trees hanging over, we're sleeping on the other side, right, tonight. And kids, I know this sounds kind of scary, but if you're listening to me, there's always a lot of hurricanes around Florida, southeast U.S. and stuff like that. And we get on the other side of them. But all of these preparations are ongoing to keep you safe. And that's what's going to happen. You're going to be safe. Go build a fort and take advantage of eating some snacks, because we sure are in here, no doubt about that. So we're going to get to the rain totals. I mentioned 8 to 14 inches. I mentioned some of the winds could gust as high as 110. So we're going to break that down county by county, specific winds and rain totals for you live. We'll cover that just ahead. All right, it is 9:06 and we get back to those snacks.
Yeah, Brian, thank you. Brian for days now has been saying that we can expect widespread power outages as a result of this storm. But Duke Energy just told us here at Eyewitness News they now have 16,000 responders at the ready.
Yeah, this is something that we have been monitoring closely for you. Duke Energy's Audrey Stasko joins us this morning with more on the company's readiness. And Audrey, that number was just up from 10,000.
Correct, yeah. So Duke Energy Florida is readying around 16,000 responders. This includes line workers, tree trimmers, damage assessors, as well as numerous support personnel at staging sites throughout the state. About half of those responders and resources are close by the Central Florida area at the Villages staging site and the Ritchie Brothers auctioneer's site. The goal with that is to place them in a safe location, sort of outside of the path, but close by so we can ensure a quick response.
What made you guys up that number? Because, Audrey, when I actually contacted you to set up this interview, I said, hey, you guys have 10,000 responders. You're anticipating 1 million plus outages because of the storm. You said, nope, girl, it is 16,000 now. What made you up that number?
Yeah, so as this hurricane approaches Florida's west coast, based on its current projected path and intensity, we know that it's going to severely impact some of our most densely populated areas, specifically the Central Florida area, the Tampa Bay area. And so by upping these resources, we're able to, ensure that we're able to, restore power as quick as possible. But I do think it's important to let customers know that while we have enough resources and we're ready to respond, customers can anticipate extended power outages based on the damage that we expect to see, flooding, and other things.
And you mentioned those customers. What's your message to them about safety? Everyone's always eager to get outside. What happened? Where did the transformer blow? What do you want to tell them about that safety aspect when it comes to power outages?
Yeah, so safety is certainly important to us before, during, and after every storm. This goes for our crews and contractors, but also for our customers and communities. We have safety protocols in place where we don't respond until it's safe to do so, very similar to first responders. And so we ask our customers to, follow the instructions of state and local emergency management officials. Stay away from any lines that are down. They could be energized and dangerous. They could be hidden in trees and debris, on fences and floodwater. Stay away from them. And then otherwise, there is flooding, a chance of severe flooding in the Central Florida area. And so if rising water threatens your home, or if you chose to evacuate, go ahead and turn off your power at the circuit breaker now before you evacuate or before your house floods.
And I'll be lastly here, a lot of people don't actually know the headquarters for Duke Energy is actually up in North Carolina, in Charlotte, of course. That state, part of it seeing massive responses from Hurricane Helene. Talk to me about how difficult it was to maybe coordinate all these efforts back to back, because a lot of people are still suffering from Helene.
Yeah, so I'd like to say that this has been unique, and it certainly has, with the devastation and catastrophe that was Hurricane Helene, affecting more than one of our service territories. But, these are people that are dedicated to helping our customers when they need us most. And so, this is no different.
Thank you so much. That is Audrey Sostko from Duke Energy. Thank you so much for that important information. 16,000 people at the ready to respond, with several areas staged here out of the path of destruction, but close enough to respond quickly once it's safe enough to do so.
And with all those power outages anticipated, I have this plugged in. It is tethered. I am doing what I can to have that power reserve. So just stay connected today. You'll be thankful you did later.
You were talking about that earlier. Like, yes, it's annoying to have to go back to your phone and not have it in your hand all the time, but you'll be really grateful if you keep it on that charger, because if you lose power, you'll be at 100%, and that'll give you a life, long lifespan there on the phone charge. You'll be grateful that you did that earlier.
Yeah. We know it's difficult to keep track of everything. It's ever changing with this hurricane on the way, and we are here to help.
That's why I want to keep your phone charged, because we're sending important Hurricane Milton updates right to your phone through our free WFTV weather app. It's on the Apple App Store and Google Play. Of course, it is free for you to download. Currently, it is 9/11. We'll have more on the forecast of exactly what's happening with this storm in real time with certified meteorologist Brian Shields and certified meteorologist Cassandra Crimmy right after the break. Here, continuous coverage on Channel 9. Approaching 9:15 on this very busy Wednesday morning. We're live for you here in continuous coverage tracking Hurricane Milton. Thank you for joining us. I'm Kirsten Delgado.
And I'm Alexa Lorenzo. Certified meteorologist Brian Shields has been watching Milton all night. Category 4 storm now inching closer to Florida.
That was to be expected,
Yep,
that downgrade.
exactly,
And we're really hoping it downgrades even more before making landfall on the West Coast.
Yeah, we'll see a little weakening trend with it, no doubt. But this is also telling me it is very much on track. Cassie's going to go county by county with all of our counties in just a second, as well as both of us are really doing what we can to track this for you. But you see it here. The Eye having had a little bit of trouble, which is to be expected. It was, I think, 160, 165 when I was on TV around 1, 2 in the morning. And now you can see the winds, or rather the Eye, not as defined. That's to be expected as this lifts to the north, but it is going to get bigger. The wind field is going to expand. That's why it's going to get all of our counties. Now let's go hourly here, and we're not getting wiped off the map with this. This is a significant event for us. There are going to be a lot of trees down, a lot of stuff we kind of get on the have to do during and after to stay safe. But we're not going to get wiped off the map. But this will be one of the bigger hurricane impacts here in Central Florida that we've had. So here's the center of this. This is by 3 o'clock today. Now, we're going to be watching the rain bands. If any tornado warnings are issued, Cassie and I will track those. So that's kind of the first thing, the chance of tornado warnings. And then the center will be right about here by 8 p.m. At that point, tropical storm conditions. So we're going to have some gusts, 50, 60, even 70 miles per hour, right around 8, right? That's when we get the bigger shield of rain moving in. Power is going to go out for a lot of us, even as soon as 6, 7 o'clock. So just giving you that heads up, we're not waiting until midnight for a lot of us for power to go out. 6, 7, 8 o'clock, we'll start to lose some power. Very heavy rain. We're going to watch that. It's very critical. Some of the neighborhoods that may take on some water. So we're watching that with the emergency management officials. Then by 2 in the morning, that's when it will make landfall very close to Sarasota. And you see how it is generally on track, and a little shift doesn't change a lot for us. The south side, of this, we'll see some drier air. But unfortunately, as this moves in, the north side, that's going to be wetter. That's going to be windier. That's why we're going to have Category 1 to Category 2 hurricane conditions here in Central Florida, which Cassie's going to break down in a second. This is 2 in the morning, right overnight. And then still the center right about here near Osceola and Brevard are just to the south by the time we hit 7 in the morning. So a long duration. That gives us that huge onshore flow of some hurricane winds along our coast. That means the coastal flooding, which is really hard to say because our friends along our coast have done so much to recover from Hurricane Nicole and Hurricane Ian just a couple of years ago. Now, with that said, it's not a Hurricane Nicole situation. That thing sat out there for 5 or 6 days, and that's why homes were falling into the water, right? It's not that type of situation, but there is going to be coastal damage and a lot of erosion and coastal flooding, okay? Every storm is a little bit different. This is a high-impact one for all of us, but everything is going to be just a touch different from some other storms. Then the center starts to move offshore finally as we work our way deeper into tomorrow, but a big wind field, still the tropical storm conditions. And by the way, tomorrow afternoon, as the rain starts to move in, you may want to sneak outside. We did have problems. I think it might have been with Matthew, where a lot of trees are down and then tree branches are down. But some of the tree branches that break get stuck in the tree canopy. And then you get outside and it's still kind of windy, even though it's not super windy, and that can still knock down branches. So we don't want problems after the storm. So that was another one of the problems we had. And I think this one was Matthew or Irma, where someone had a generator outside where they should be, but they had it next to a window, and then the fumes got inside, and I'll leave it at that. So we just want to be kind of smart with what we do. Generators outside and away from windows. Don't let any of those fumes sneak inside. I didn't want to get too much into that, but you get the idea. All right, what we got going on here with the rain, which Cassie's going to get to in a minute. This gives us a feel of the rain. She's going to get really specific with this county by county, where we could have some totals, 10, 14 inches. And this is what I mean. North of the center, where we are, we're going to have those higher rain totals. So what's going to happen here? What's it going to be like? Well, we're going to lose power, down branches, down trees. Not wiping out all our trees, but we're going to have those down trees around. And my concern is that some of those trees will fall onto houses, and we'll get some branches on houses, and those areas of flooding that I mentioned. Some inland and a lot of the coast. Worst weather will be tonight, really starting after 7, 8 o'clock and then all the way through the first half of tomorrow. So when we're thinking of the families and what we can do as well, kids can maybe make a little kit with some of the snacks and some games because we're going to be without power later on. They can maybe build a fort in a good, safe spot to sleep. And that's what I want for you as well, to sleep in a safe area away from windows and in the part of your home, be it a condo or apartment, whatever, that is kind of away from some of those bigger trees. That is my biggest concern in this, is our beautiful trees that will be coming down in this event. So I know it's a lot for kids to take in. I work with a mental health counselor on this, Brianna Cook Edwards. And again, you don't want to burden the kids with this, but a little involvement is good. And if you build that fort with them early on in that safe area, by the time you get them to bed, they'll just kind of go into that. Also a sound machine in place because it's scary at night. The sounds are very scary. So having some sort of battery-powered sound machine so they could sleep tight. And anytime the kids are sleeping, as Cassie and I very well know, that is always that is a good time. All right, let's get you county by county now and what we could expect with the wind field of this, Cass.
That's right, and winds are going to be a big player. Just like Brian was mentioning, the rain is going to be impactful for a lot of our residents as well. But I want to take you a little bit more specifically, especially county by county, through these winds. But you can see this core, this big red core, that's hurricane force winds, so 74 and up. This is moving onshore and over parts of central Florida, right where that eye wall is expected to move through. You can see Polk, Osceola, Brevard, even parts of Orange County. Sustained winds, more than 74 miles. That's going to put our wind gusts even higher. We could see some wind gusts 95, 100 even, and even higher than that, and especially down in parts of Polk County. So I want to get through all of our counties here. For timing purposes, sometimes I'll just get through a couple of them, but I have them all. I'm not leaving any counties out. I want you to know that the worst weather Wednesday night into Thursday morning down into Polk County, and this is where I think we could get some of those stronger wind gusts. This is going to be the closest location to the storm when it's at its strongest point, making its landfall. It will weaken gradually as it moves over central Florida, but areas in Osceola County, again, you can see those wind gusts, 90 miles per hour. And this is overnight and into early Thursday morning when we can expect some of the strongest winds, the biggest impacts. As we get over to Brevard County, again, 90 mile per hour wind gusts possible. Could even get up to 100, 105 as some locations forecasted. Northern side of the storm, storm surge, especially northern Brevard. 3 to 5 foot surge. A little bit further south, looking more 2 to 4 foot surge. We get into Seminole County, Oviedo, Sanford, wind gusts 75 miles per hour. Again, very early Thursday morning, really from 3 a.m. through about 8 a.m. We head up into Flagler, Volusia County. Your timing's more towards midday Thursday for the worst weather, where we could get gusts over 80 miles per hour, 10 to 14 inches of rainfall, and watching that surge very closely. In and around parts of Orange County, again, this is early Thursday through our Thursday morning. The power loss of the trees, the strongest winds moving through that time frame. And again, wind gusts 80 miles per hour or even higher. Watching for that flooding concern, especially in some of the communities that have been hit hard with flooding in the past. We could get 8 to 14 inches of rainfall. Areas of Sumter and Lake County, wind gusts there 75 miles per hour and higher. Again, especially on the southern side of these counties. Northern sides you could expect to see on the lower end. And that kind of pushes us into Marion County, where we anticipate 60 to about 70 mile per hour wind gusts as we head through the overnight and into early Thursday morning. But again, we'll be fine-tuning a lot of these county by county impacts for you, and we'll continue to take you through what exactly you can expect as the storm moves through, all coming up. Alexa, here.
Cassie, thank you. An evacuation order goes into effect this morning. County.
And Channel 9's Sam Martello is live for us in 1792 in Daytona Beach. That went into effect about 90 minutes ago, Sam, at 8 a.m.
Yeah, so that evacuation order is now in place here in different parts throughout Volusia County. Now, this is the road, US 1792, over the bridge that many people should be using. This area, Daytona Beach. Now, we're standing on the east side of the Intracoastal Waterway. That has always been under this evacuation order, but that has expanded to Zone A, which includes some western portions. over the Intracoastal Waterway. It also includes RV parks, mobile home parks, low-lying areas, and areas that are prone to flooding. Now, it's important to mention that emergency management leaders are saying that if your home was damaged, if you had flooding from Hurricane Ian back in 2022, that you are also included in this evacuation order. They're kind of comparing the storm a bit to how Hurricane Ian impacted the coast here. So if you were impacted, they want you to listen to this evacuation order and try to just get to a safer place. I think it's important to mention that if you're under an evacuation order, that doesn't mean you have to travel thousands of miles away. You just have to get to a safer, higher ground location than where you're currently at. I do also want to mention these bridges here in Volusia County, Daytona Beach. These are going to be closing if the winds reach 40 miles an hour. So think about that. If you are choosing to stay here, these bridges will be closed when the winds get to 40 miles an hour. And from the forecast we've been listening to from Brian and Cassie this morning, that's definitely expected to exceed that here in the Volusia County area. So definitely something to watch. Now, shelters did open at 9 o'clock this morning in Volusia County. There are multiple to choose from. There's middle schools, there's high schools. Some of them are also pet friendly. Of course, if you're evacuating, please take your pets with you. There's also special needs shelters. So if you are electricity dependent, you need to plug oxygen in, things along those lines, there are shelters for you here in Volusia County. I did check in actually with, I know we spoke with Sheriff Chitwood earlier this morning. He had a great message for the residents to just listen to the warnings and get to a safer place. So I did just go ahead and check in with the sheriff's office and the county as well as to how people are being receptive to this evacuation order. And they told me that they had authorities going out, some last night, some this morning, going door to door, also with loudspeakers through some prone areas, letting people know they were under an evacuation order. He couldn't give me exact locations, exactly where they were doing that, but residents have been warned in multiple ways. So it's just best to listen to those warnings. For now, we're live in Daytona Beach, San Martello, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
Alrighty. Sam, thank you. We have all of Central Florida getting ready. We have some new pictures in from the Orlando Fire Department showing they are getting ready, looking at those maps, ready right now to prepare for Hurricane Milton. Stay with us as we continue our coverage as this storm gets closer to Florida. We'll have a live news conference with Florida Governor Ron DeSantis from Tallahassee ahead.
Approaching 9:30 on this Wednesday morning, and we're getting back to our live coverage, of course, continuing coverage of Hurricane Milton here on Channel 9. Thank you for joining us. I'm Kirsten Delgado.
And I'm Alexa Lorenzo. Right now, we are awaiting a live news from the governor. Here's a live look at the emergency headquarters, the emergency operations building in Tallahassee, Florida. This is where we've been receiving those constant updates from state leaders. You can see right there photojournalists and reporters at the ready for this news conference. It'll be our first one of the day. If that happens here shortly, we'll bring it to you live right here on Channel 9.
For now, though, we do want to get over to Cassie. There's been so many fluctuations. We saw this really in the last 24 to 36 hours with the storm.
Yeah.
But now that we're at Category 4, we are expecting this to stay there or downgrade.
Well, so not necessarily downgrade, but weaken, if that makes sense.
Yes.
And it could downgrade.
Well, the thing is, you know what it is? I'm really hoping for it.
I know, and listen, so are we. You know what I mean? I think everybody at the end of the day wants this. How many times does somebody go, isn't this just going to like poof away?
Yeah, no,
and we
right.
really wish it would.
Yeah.
Right. And so the last 24 hours, this was over a very like Goldilocks environment. It was just perfect conditions for it. Very, very warm water for it to feed off of, low shear in the atmosphere for it to continue to grow. And that's why we had that 4 to 5 kind of bouncing back and forth, that toggling over the last 24 hours. Now it's moving into less of a Goldilocks environment. There's going to be a little bit more wind shear where it's moving into right now. And we anticipated this, and we anticipated some weakening, and we're seeing just that. Winds right now at about 155 miles per hour. We're even starting to see it get a little skewed and stretched, which indicates something's pulling at it or pushing at it when we talk about some of those upper level winds. But currently, as we continue to track Milton, it's still a Category 4 storm. And this is why I want to say kind of the nuance that, yes, we're expecting to see it weaken, but maybe not necessarily downgrade. If we take a look at the track here, you can see as we go through the remainder of the day, winds at around 2 o'clock at 150, weakening down, the winds down about 5 miles per hour, down even further, down to 130 miles per hour. But we still have this moving onshore on our west coast, Tampa, Sarasota area as a borderline 3-4 as we get into the overnight hours on Thursday. That's going to make for some significant impacts up and down our west coast beaches. I know areas and residents of Tampa Bay are really hoping for a southern jog. That would mean a little bit less in the storm surge impacts for them, but then that pushes a lot more of the storm surge down into further southern portions of the west coast, talking the Fort Myers area that get hit very hard with Ian. So again, kind of in that Fort Myers, Tampa area, there's going to be some big impacts. Just how strong, exactly where it lands is going to pinpoint who has the biggest impacts. But for us, we're anticipating a category 1 or even 2 as it moves over. You can see by the time it's emerging off our east coast, Thursday afternoon at around 2 o'clock, it's still a category 1 storm, winds at 80 miles per hour. That's still some strong winds, and that's going to continue to drive in some very big conditions over at our coastline when we talk about those impacts. So Brian has been talking about this all morning long. Really, what should we be doing today? Today is going to be kind of a long day, and we mentioned that you should have all your full preparations done by last night. There may be a few people early this morning still trying to tie things up. Loosen some of the ends or tie up some of the loose ends is what I meant to say as we go through our morning hours, and that's fine because things are still calm outside now. Things are on the quiet side, but as we get into this afternoon and as we get into the evening, things are going to start to deteriorate. The winds are going to become a bit breezier. We'll have some of the squally weather move in, and what that means is we're going to have some of the showers and storms moving into parts of Central Florida. You can see as we look at the loop of the satellite and radar here that we've already been seeing rain. Here in Central Florida, it's been quite tame. Zoom out just a little bit so you can actually see the center of the storm. Again, about 200 miles away from our west coast. These little batches, these little nuggets right there off over the water, those are areas where we could get some spin. A couple of those locations have been detected down in parts of South Florida. You can see that we do have an active tornado warning as we get down into South Florida. But most of what we've got going on overhead has been pretty quiet. Still some heavy pockets, though, in Brevard, Volusia County already early this morning. Now, if we talk a little bit more about kind of the severe threat that we'll have for today, you can see there is a tornado watch all of South Florida. This includes, you can see Polk and Osceola County, zooming in a little bit closer. That goes until 9 o'clock this evening, and this is something that all of the meteorology staff here is going to be watching. Myself, Brian Shields, Tom Terry, David Heckard, we're going to be on essentially tornado watch as we head through this afternoon as we get the first of those outer bands starting to move into our area. So it's going to be a day of waiting before the worst of the impacts are expected to get here. Now, earlier we have been taking you county by county. I want to do that again if we can get it in before the governor presser. Just flag me down if you see anything, right? Exactly, but we get you through some of the winds. This is going to be one of the two big elements. Every storm is different. Sometimes it's a rain event, sometimes it's a wind event, sometimes it's a non-event, really. This, I think, is going to be both a wind and a rain event, unfortunately. Kind of a double-faceted storm with us, but look at this core right here. That's 74+ mile per hour winds. Sustained, that's a constant wind over 74 miles per hour. And that is going to be pushing right through parts of southern Central Florida as we go through the overnight and early morning hours. And again, wind gusts are going to be even higher than that. I'm going to wrap it up here. We'll go through those county by counties, and I'll have that for you when we get back from all of these pressers that we'll be taking. Alexa, Kirsten.
Cassie, thank you. And people are still making their down to the wire preps before Milton makes landfall.
So let's get a check in here with Channel 9's Q McRae, live for us in Orlando. You are at a business that is actually boarding up right now, Q.
Yeah, that I am. You can take a look for yourself here. I was actually leaving the airport to head over to Colonial High School to check out one of the shelters there when I noticed this group of guys doing their best to protect this business. Now, we're at the A&A Used Tires and Wheels shop here on Cimarron Boulevard, just south of the 408. And again, they're doing their best to safeguard this property, to safeguard the business. There's a big old, storefront here that's just covered with glass. So they're doing their best to board things up. They got their drills out here, got their screws. Mike, do you want me to speak to this gentleman here? Okay. Hey, my name's Key. What's your name?
Brian.
Brian, nice to meet you, my friend.
Nice to meet you.
So I know it's obvious, but I want you to talk about what you guys are doing here right now.
The thing is, a lot of people was thinking about this going to be like low raining, you know what I'm saying? But now it's Cat 5, and it's still on it, like it's going to hit you hot, you know what I'm saying? So we have a building right there. It's not finished yet, so we think about the wind is going to be crazy, everything is going to fall out, you know what I'm saying? So Highlands hit very, very strong Tampa, so you have a lot of building down, so we don't want to, you know, make it damage over here.
So just to be clear, across the street, Brian was talking about the construction that's happening. So what their concern is right now, that when the winds do come from Hurricane Milton, that a lot of that construction material might rip off and slam into their business here right across the street, which makes sense. That's an honest concern. So you are covering up the front part of your business right now. You still have some more windows around the side.
Yeah, because, listen, we open to try to help people, but we're making it ready as well. Because at a time, any hurricane or storm is coming out, we open like middle days to help people. You know what I'm saying? So everybody try to fix tires on this kind of strong. The road is a lot of things on it, you know what I'm saying? So we try to help people.
There you go.
But we make it ready as well.
Well, Brian, I appreciate your time. Thank you very much for stopping to speak with us. And owner is right there in the green shirt. His name's Michael Marr. He's the owner here of A&A Used Tires and Wheels. We're going to let them get back to their job and finishing up here. But for now, back to you guys inside.
Q, thank you. And you can always call 211 for help during Hurricane Milton.
Yeah, Heart of Florida United Way is partnering with the Hurricane Helpline to connect you to important services. You can give them a call for information regarding shelters, sandbags, food, and even offer emotional support. It's a free and confidential service available to you 24/7. In addition to that, you do have other numbers you can call in your particular cities, right? So you have Seminole County, you can call and get updates after power loss for specific issues happening in Sanford and Kissimmee as well. You can text Kissimmee to 888-777. You'll get updates about what's happening literally in your area of Kissimmee there regarding power loss, and updates from the city about what's happening in that perimeter.
I love Central Florida. The community really comes together. Yeah. And it's before the storm that's important too, saying, hey, this is coming our way. Here are the numbers. We are here for you. This is what we do. So we're going to get through this. Brian Shields and Cassie Crimmy have been doing a fantastic job breaking this down county by county, so you know how to prepare and you know what to expect.
We'll have more coverage here of Hurricane Milton right after the break on Eyewitness News.
Here's a live look at Tallahassee as we are awaiting a news conference live with Florida Governor Ron DeSantis.
Approaching 9:45 on this Wednesday morning, we're in continuous coverage for you as Hurricane Milton makes its way closer to making landfall in the west side of Florida and eventually, of course, coming over us here in Central Florida. Really tonight in the overnight hours, early Thursday morning.
Yeah, we are watching all of our counties across Central Florida, watching the West Coast as well. At this moment, we are waiting for Florida Governor Ron DeSantis to give us a live news update from Tallahassee. Here's a live look in the Emergency Operations Center there in Tallahassee. And today has been the day that we have been telling people to be ready by, right? Yesterday was that full long day of prep, so I'm sure the governor is speaking to a lot of agency heads, some big time leaders trying to give us the most up-to-date and accurate information in this news conference.
Yeah, you know, planning for the prep and then the post. There's going to be a lot of post recovery with this storm system, but I want to give you the latest on it. I want to show you exactly what I'm seeing and what could help at least some parts of Central Florida and Florida out with this storm. But it's a Category 4, winds at 155 miles per hour, about 200 miles away from the coastline, give or take, moving to the northeast at 16 miles per hour. So you compare that to yesterday, slow crawl. It was barely moving just north of the Yucatan. But something that I'm watching as we flip over to just a different imagery that I can look at here in Severe Weather Center 9, the center of the eye, or the center of the store, the eye wall, I'm actually putting a little ring on there so you can see it a little bit better. Notice how this storm system is not symmetrical anymore. We're losing a little bit of that We're starting to get things skewed just a little bit. You can see on the west side of the storm system, it stretches out about 58 miles, but on the east side of the storm system, it's stretching out almost 160 miles. And this is something that we're going to be continuing to watch and continue to see some weakening as we go forward. Also, as we take a look at the water vapor imagery, look at all of this deep orange, these areas of yellow. This is dry air just to the east of this storm system. And I anticipate you can start to see it trying to poke its way in there on the south side of the storm, and I expect to see some of the dry air wrapping in around this on the south side, which again will make in for some influences and impacts to not only its strength, but what parts of Florida and central Florida will see rain shields. And anticipating some of the heaviest rain on the north side of the storm system, and that dry air is the exact reason. It's going to move in on the bottom side, which means if you're going to be south of the track, I don't think we'll have as wet of concerns, flooding issues, some rainfall kind of in these outer bands. But when we talk about right around the core of the system, things are going to be on the drier side, and you'll see it in your weather center future. Day to day and into the overnight, you can see a gradual weakening, but still a major hurricane approaching our west coast. For central Florida, the fact that it's a 4, expected to stay a 4 for most of the day and could reach landfall 3 to 4 line really doesn't change much for our impacts. We still anticipate and have planned for a category 1 or 2 storm rolling over central Florida. You can see by Thursday at 2 p.m. exiting our coastline, emerging off the east coast, still as a category 1 storm. But I want to take you through the models on this. Our in-house model is kind of moving this a little bit faster than actually the National Hurricane Center track, which would be great if we can get this thing in and out. But you can see when I talked about that drier air wrapping around, lower rain chances on the south side of the storm. This is the center of the storm making landfall just to the south of Tampa this evening. And again, I mentioned a little bit faster. This is closer to about 8 o'clock instead of overnight, midnight, 1 o'clock. Look at all the heavy rain on the north side. Now, unfortunately for us here in central Florida, most of our communities are expected to be on the north side of the system. That's why we're anticipating 6 to 14 inches of rainfall. But areas like Fort Pierce, West Palm Beach, you can see there's not a whole lot of rain happening there. And then it moves offshore, which is some good news for a lot of our central Florida residents. So again, as we continue to prepare for the storm to do our wait day, we were requesting that all your full preparations really be done by last night. You could probably get away with a few more if you have to tie up some loose ends early this morning, as things are still quite calm. But by this afternoon and evening, we're going to start to see things deteriorate. Some of those outer squalls will move in. We'll have that tornado threat. We actually have a tornado watch in place for Polk and Osceola County, and that goes all the way until about 9 o'clock tonight. And that's we're really going to be watching as we go through the afternoon and evening here locally. Also, our wind gusts are going to start to pick up. I wouldn't be surprised if this evening we start to get a couple waves of some of those power outages before even the heart of the storm moves over central Florida. But for those of you who are just hanging around waiting today, schools are out, you're home with the kids, you're probably home from work as well. It's going to be a long day, so just hang in with us. Make sure while you have power now that everything is geared up and ready to go. You've got all of the charged, your phone's charged, backup wire, battery packs, whatever you may use. Once that power goes out, make sure they're up and ready to go as we continue to track this. And make sure you've got a way to get those warnings. You know, this is a good time really to remind you that you have weather radio in your bag. Also, download the app. That means when the TVs go out, the power goes out, the internet go out. You know, you have to think about that. But there's for you to get the information, especially if we're tracking tornado warnings or flooding concerns where we have to orders that you want to get that information. But safety, it's going to be a long overnight. Morning in a safe spot tonight. If you look around your property, which I hope all of you did, kind of that earlier walk around and take a video of your property. You probably noticed where the trees are and where they could potentially land in and around your property. So just make sure that you spot. But if we talk about some of those county by counties down to them, Polk County, you either really, especially West Polk County, to the storm at And once it makes landfall, it's going to start to weaken gradually. So once it moves across central Florida, it'll be having that weakening trend. But areas in western Polk County, you're going to feel the strongest conditions from this storm system. We could have wind gusts 100 miles per hour or more at times. Worst weather again tonight and into Osceola County, where the core of those winds, those hurricane force winds, sustained even, would go. So that's sustained 74 and above. We're looking at wind gusts 90 miles per hour or more. Notice in Polk also, but Osceola, I dropped our rain totals a little bit. I think we're going to be a lot on the south side of the system, especially the southern tiers of the community. So 3 to 8 inches of rainfall. We may have a few spots on the northern ends locally heavier. That's going to be the case as well up in parts of Brevard County, kind of a split from north to south. But areas of Brevard County, as the storm system moves on through, sustained winds 75 to 90 miles per hour, wind gusts 90 plus as we take you through the overnight, early Thursday and through the first half of your Thursday. Seminole County, wind gusts there 75 miles per hour. Big rain here. A lot about the evacuation orders that went out for parts of Seminole County. People got notification on their phone system. And again, that's going to be for the mobile homes, the low-lying flood-prone areas, and anybody who medically needs that electricity through this storm system to do those evacuations to shelters. But I think we're still going to get 75 mile per hour. 8 to 14 inches of rainfall. The communities up and down the St. Johns River, I know are really listening to this. There's been flood warnings in place there for weeks, just through our summer months. Flagler and Volusia County, you're timing a little bit later. We're talking really into Thursday morning into Thursday afternoon. Surge is going to be a concern, 3 to 5 foot storm surge as the system exits, but also very strong wind gusts, 80 mile per hour wind gusts, even higher. Heavy rainfall, 10 to 14 inches of rain possible in and around parts of Flagler and Volusia County. We head on back into Orange County. Early Thursday morning is expected to be the worst timing of our weather. Power lines, tree damage, wind gusts 80 miles even higher, and again anywhere from 8 to 14 inches of rainfall. Or La Vista, watching you very closely. A lot of our downtown areas, we know we've got some heavy rainfall just in some of our summertime storm and had some flooding concerns. We are going to be watching that, and again, make sure you have the go bag ready to go and let people know if your home starts to flood. Sumter, Lake County, south side of the county. You guys are a very long north to south county, but on the south side of the county, as we get Bushnell, Leesburg, and Claremont, those communities are going to see some of the stronger wind gusts. So you may be a little bit higher than that 75 mile per hour range, getting more towards 85, even 90. As again, you're going to be very close to the core of this storm system. Once we start to climb northward a little bit, getting into the northern portions, northern territories of the county, more towards that 70 to 75 range, which is something that we'll be tracking as well in parts of Marion County. You can see our wind gusts there forecasting 60 to 70. Now remember, these are wind gusts, so those are the quick bursts of winds. Sustained winds for almost all of central Florida are going to hit 58 to 73 miles per hour for multiple hours. There's going to be a small portion, and casting that down in parts of Polk, Osceola, and Brevard County, that will actually see sustained winds 75 miles per hour and higher. So again, we'll continue to break down these county by county impacts for you. We'll even take a look at your community by community all coming up. Kirsten and Alexa.
All right, we're still waiting for the governor to speak. In the meantime, we're taking you live to Key West at the southernmost point. You can see here, those waves are getting angry.
Yeah, crashing at that iconic buoy mark right here again in Key West. This is Monroe County. It is going to be another tough along the west coast of Florida. So we're thinking of our friends in Tampa, St. Pete, Bradenton, Sanibel as they prepare.
Unfortunately, taking back-to-back hits. I mean, Helene was maybe barely 2 weeks ago. It's been unimaginable, but yeah, here we are. We're prepared. And
and that shot we saw crashing waves.
I had Helene before it even made landfall. It was still hundreds of miles away and the waves were nuts. So yeah. Well, back at home in Brevard County, we've seen long lines at sandbag sites leading up to today because prep is now over. We're now kind of in place mode, and people were standing in line for 3 and 4 hours in the last couple of days getting those sandbags.
Yeah, they're bracing for this storm. Channel 9's Giovanni Diaz is showing us those preps some businesses are doing before Milton's arrival.